on the line with us Samantha Parsons and Janine Gaspari. Am I saying that right? Samantha and Janine?
Yes.
Great. Yeah. Great. Samantha is the organizer and GMU alum and co-founder of Transparent GMU, and Janine is a current GMU student and student organizer with Transparent GMU. The website Un Koch, as in K-O-C-H, mycampus.org. And Samantha and Janine, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having us. We're very excited to be here. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Tell us about, first of all, tell us about GMU and the association with the Koch brothers.
Absolutely. So the Charles Koch Foundation is actually George Mason University's largest private donor. In George Mason's history, we've received well over $100 million from the Charles Koch Foundation. And essentially, we have been trying, we as students and now faculty as well, have been trying to gain transparency around that relationship. So, for example, when I was a freshman at George Mason University, I learned that Charles Koch was our largest donor, and also learned that at Florida State, where they also donate money, that university granted the Charles Koch Foundation control over research, curriculum, and hiring and firing power. And because George Mason received so much money from the Charles Koch Foundation, I, along with other students, ran an effort to try to gain more transparency around the relationship with our private donor. Unfortunately, our university has not been interested in talking to us about that, and so Janine and other students are continuing that fight today.
Okay, Samantha, good on you. You're the alum. Janine, you're a current student. What do you see on the ground?
So we've been doing a lot of grassroots organizing with students, and we're really trying to get faculty on board and trying to get them the oversight that they are owed at our university. They have the right to see these agreements and to know what's happening at our university, because ultimately the university belongs to our faculty and our students. And we're gaining a lot of support with those communities and really trying to uphold the integrity of our school.
Right. Now the hashtag is KochaLeaks, KochiLeaks. I see the front page of your website, Un Koch My Campus, and there's the top story is leaked audio exposes academic corruption between Charles Koch Foundation and professors. Listen for yourself. Tell us about this audio, Samantha.
So Janine and I were actually not involved in that part of the campaign. Mm-hmm. We've been largely focused on George Mason, but okay, our organizer, Ralph Wilson, could easily talk to you about that should you want to do a segment about that.
Okay. So then tell us, Janine, tell us about Transparent GMU, which I'm assuming is a different website?
We have a Facebook page, but we are actually a student-run organization that advocates for the public disclosure of donor agreements along with their terms and conditions. That's internal to our university.
So that's the Transparent GMU, and if it's a Facebook page, people could just search Transparent GMU or George Mason or what?
They can search Transparent GMU on Facebook or Twitter, and you will get media outlets for both organization. Of those.
A question for both of you, Samantha and Janine, and feel free, whoever wants to jump in here. Have you seen or have you heard stories from people who have seen the direct consequence of Koch money at George Mason University? Have you seen, for example, curriculum changes or staff changes or things that you know, in the classroom that caused you to scratch your head?
Well, I would say the biggest consequence of Koch money at our university is it violating faculty governance on our campus. So, for example, the real issue that we have with the agreement that we found between the law school and the Charles Koch Foundation was that the donor, Charles Koch, maintains the right to revoke their funding at any time, which ultimately means that the continued operations of our university are dependent on making the donor happy. So basically, the Charles Koch Foundation could take their money away if the university was not operating in a way that they were pleased with. The university also had to agree to keep this information as secret as possible, which essentially goes against the idea of it being a public university. And so the big reality that we're seeing is that ultimately the Charles Koch Foundation is having significant impact over the faculty governance at our university, because faculty should have the right to determine the continuing operations of the university, not a private donor.
Mm-hmm. So where do you go from here?
So we're trying to establish rightful faculty oversight of donor agreements and public transparency of donor agreements, just allowing the university community to know who's giving us the money and what strings might be attached to it, which we don't want any. There should be no strings attached to a donation.
Right. So have you found explicit strings attached to the Koch money at George Mason University beyond the choice of well, I guess choice of faculty is huge. Is that one of the strings?
So no, essentially the choice of faculty and oversight of research and curriculum was explicitly laid out in the Florida State Agreement. Right. The only agreement that we've actually been able to see at George Mason is this one between the law school and the Charles Koch Foundation. And the only reason that was made transparent is because the name change was involved, and our university president had to sign off on it, which means it left what is known as the George Mason University Foundation, which actually signs all the agreements, and it's actually a private entity that is not transparent with us, and was sent to the university itself, which then had to make the agreement transparent. So essentially, the agreement between the law school and the Charles Koch Foundation is the only one that we have been able to actually look at. But as I said, it does emphasize the fact that the donor maintains the right to revoke any funding at any time should the university not operate in ways that they want it to, which is the biggest issue that we are seeing, because a donor should not be able to dictate the ongoing operations of a public university or any university, but
right.
particularly a taxpayer-funded university.
Right. This is the law school that just got renamed the Anthony Scalia Law School or School of Law or whatever.
Correct, but that was only a $10 million donation made by the Charles Koch Foundation to the law school, and over the course of the university's history, we've received over $100 million from the Charles Koch Foundation. So really what the work that we're doing is we're trying to find or gain access and transparency to those other agreements,
now,
and implement processes that prevent any other strings attached from coming in through other agreements.
Right. My understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, is that in some of the universities where the Koch brothers or Charles, I don't know if this is the Charles Koch Foundation or other foundations, but their particular focus has been on the economics curriculum and in some cases history and social science in order to spin it all hard to the right. Are you seeing that at George Mason?
Well, I would say that the Charles Koch Foundation definitely supports our economics program and our law school. I wouldn't necessarily say that they, in this agreement that we've been able to see, that they are demanding any type of specific curricular changes or specific people to be hired. So I can't say with certainty that this grant agreement that we have access to is requiring that, but it does have very explicit expectations and making sure the university runs in making sure the Kochs are happy with how the university is run. Right. And as we all know, the Kochs have certain political and ideological preferences.
Yeah, amen. Well, good luck. Un Koch My Campus and Transparent GMU, Samantha Parsons and Janine Gaspari. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great talking with you both. We'll be back. It's 15 minutes past the hour. It's the Thom Hartmann program. Back with your calls.